When Deputy President Lena Carter visits the exclusive Azure Haven restaurant, she faces blatant discrimination, from a dismissive hostess to an arrogant owner, Vanessa, who questions her worthiness to dine there. Despite having a reservation, Lena is seated away from prime areas, subjected to whispers and judgmental stares, and ultimately humiliated in a shocking confrontation. The incident, rooted in unconscious bias and racism, ignites public outrage and forces a reckoning within the restaurant, exposing systemic prejudice in the service industry and beyond. What begins as a moment of personal indignity grows into a catalyst for sweeping societal reform. After a marathon day packed with high-stakes meetings and decisions that would shape the nation's course, Deputy President Lena Carter longed for something refreshingly simple, a quiet evening far from the whirlwind of politics, known for her resilience under relentless pressure and the public's unforgiving scrutiny. Tonight she desired only solitude and serenity. With this in mind, she chose Azure Haven, a celebrated coastal retreat tucked along a serene stretch of white sand beach, renowned for its perfect blend of luxury and nature. The restaurant attracted high-profile clientele, seeking privacy amidst its breezy, secluded ambiance. Lantern-lit cabanas glowed softly against the backdrop of a setting sun, their warmth blending with the ocean's golden hues. The rhythmic murmur of waves caressing the shore complemented the salty tang of the sea breeze, a tableau that promised a rare moment of peace. Dressed in a tailored navy suit with minimal adornments, Lena entered the polished reception area. She exuded quiet authority, her very presence radiating composure without the need for fanfare. Yet as she crossed the threshold, it became clear her understated elegance did not align with the unspoken expectations of some of the establishment's regular patrons. At the reception desk stood Melissa, a hostess with an impeccable appearance and years of experience catering to an elite clientele. Her welcoming smile faltered for a split second as she appraised Lena's simple attire, the warmth in her eyes replaced by a faint note of suspicion. While maintaining professional decorum, Melissa's tone betrayed a tinge of condescension. "Good evening, and welcome to Azure Haven," she said. "We're often fully booked. Do you happen to have a reservation?" Lena responded with a calm nod. Producing her phone to display the email confirmation, Melissa scrutinized the screen as though searching for flaws, her lips pressing into a thin line before returning Lena's device. "Well, it seems everything is in order," she said, her tone tinged with reluctance, though our most sought-after tables are typically reserved for premium guests. The subtle jab did not go unnoticed. Around them, other diners began sneaking glances, their quiet murmurs brushing against Lena's finely honed awareness like whispers in a courtroom. She knew the drill, the unspoken judgments, the covert assumptions. As a woman of color and one of the most powerful figures in the nation, Lena was well acquainted with such silent biases. Tonight, however, she decided to let it pass without comment. She followed Melissa through the dining area, observing how others were led to tables graced with breathtaking views of the ocean, while she was ushered to a modest corner, tucked away from the spotlight. The waves outside glimmered in the moonlight, a view partially obstructed from her seat. The air inside the restaurant buzzed with muted conversations and the occasional clink of glasses, but Lena felt the tension lurking beneath the surface. Taking a deep breath, she gazed out toward the horizon, willing herself to enjoy the serenity of the moment. Moments later, Melissa returned with a menu, placing it on the table without a hint of enthusiasm. Her smile was mechanical, her words curt. "Here's the menu. Let me know when you're ready to order." Lena glanced up, her steady gaze meeting Melissa's fleeting one. "Thank you, I'll need a moment." Melissa lingered, her eyes flicking once more to Lena's understated appearance before walking away. At a nearby table, a man in a white dinner jacket leaned toward his companion, speaking in a low voice clearly meant to carry. "Does she even know how much a meal here costs?" His partner, adorned with glittering jewelry, chuckled softly, casting a quick glance toward Lena. "Maybe she's just here for the sunset. Doesn't exactly look like she belongs, does she?" Lena heard every word. The conversation was like a faint echo of countless others she had endured over her career, people who underestimated her, judged her, or attempted to diminish her presence based on their own narrow perceptions. She remained still, outwardly calm, though the sting of such casual prejudice ran deeper than she cared to admit. When Melissa returned to take her order, her demeanor was no less frosty. "Are you ready now?" she asked, her tone devoid of warmth. Lena offered a polite but firm reply. "Not just yet, I'll let you know." Her voice carried a quiet authority, a subtle shift that Melissa seemed to notice. The hostess hesitated briefly, as though sensing a hidden strength beneath Lena's composed exterior. She quickly masked her unease and turned away. Minutes passed before a striking woman in an elegant black dress approached the table. Her confident stride and poised expression made it clear she was no ordinary staff member. This was Vanessa, the owner of Azure Haven, a figure as celebrated as her establishment. "Good evening," Vanessa greeted, her voice smooth, yet carrying an unmistakable edge. "I'm Vanessa, the owner. I wanted to personally welcome you and ensure everything is to your satisfaction." Her words were polite, but her tone and the flicker in her eyes hinted at something less hospitable. Lena straightened in her chair, meeting Vanessa's sharp gaze with one of her own. "Thank you, I appreciate your attention to detail." Vanessa hesitated briefly before continuing. "While we strive to create an exceptional experience for all our guests, we also have certain standards to maintain. I hope you find our setting suitable." The insinuation was unmistakable. Lena felt the weight of the words, the thinly veiled suggestion that she did not belong in such a space around them. Other diners tried to feign disinterest, though their sidelong glances betrayed their curiosity. Lena's voice was measured but resolute as she replied, "I made a reservation, just like any other guest. If there's an issue, perhaps it lies not with my presence but with your definition of hospitality." Vanessa's smile faltered, replaced by a glimmer of frustration. "We reserve the right to ensure our establishment's atmosphere aligns with our vision. If this isn't the experience you're seeking, I'd be happy to recommend somewhere more appropriate." The tension in the room grew palpable. The soft melody of waves crashing outside was the only sound breaking the thick silence. Lena didn't flinch. Her voice, calm but unyielding, sliced through the moment. "I'm here to enjoy my dinner," she said firmly, "and I trust that your restaurant will honor its commitment to service without discrimination." For the first time, Vanessa looked unsettled. There was something about Lena's tone, her quiet determination, that made it clear this was no ordinary patron. As the confrontation hovered on the edge of escalation, the atmosphere in Azure Haven felt electric. Lena remained seated, her presence commanding and immovable, while Vanessa weighed her next move carefully. The battle, Lena knew, was no longer about dinner. It was about standing up to the subtle barriers that had long attempted to define who belonged and who didn't. The restaurant, known for its poise and elegance, had become an unintentional theater of tension. The quiet murmur of waves outside was overshadowed by whispers spreading among the diners. Vanessa, the proud owner of Azure Haven, stood near Lena Carter's table, her posture stiff with arrogance. Her high heels clicked softly on the wooden floor as she addressed Lena, with a tone that struggled to maintain an air of civility, but was laced with unmistakable contempt. "Ms. Carter," Vanessa began, her lips curving into a forced smile. "Azure Haven isn't merely a restaurant. It's a sanctuary for those who truly appreciate refinement and sophistication. Perhaps you've misunderstood the kind of experience we offer here." Her words were polite on the surface, but the insult embedded within them was impossible to miss. Several diners shifted uncomfortably in their seats, while others watched intently, their curiosity piqued by the unfolding drama. Lena rose slowly from her chair, smoothing the fabric of her simple navy suit. Her composed demeanor revealed no trace of anger, but her unwavering gaze met Vanessa's with a force that silenced the room. "Sophistication," she said calmly, "isn't measured by your personal biases. It's measured by grace, respect, and fairness. And from what I've experienced tonight, those values are sorely lacking here." Her voice, though quiet, carried the weight of a tidal wave. It reverberated across the room, unsettling Vanessa and cutting through the tension like a sharp breeze on a still night. Vanessa's confident facade faltered momentarily. However, instead of backing down, she chose to double down, her voice growing colder. You may not understand the standards we hold ourselves to, Ms. Carter Azure. Haven caters to a particular clientele. It's our responsibility to ensure that the atmosphere here remains impeccable. Before Lena could respond, a voice broke through the heavy silence. It came from a young man seated nearby, his indignation written clearly on his face. "Excuse me," he said, standing from his table and directing his words toward Vanessa. "You're wrong. No one has the right to decide who is or isn't worthy of being served in a place like this. If this restaurant is truly about refinement, it should treat every guest with dignity, regardless of how they look." His words sparked a ripple effect among the diners. Some nodded subtly, while others murmured their agreement. Even those who had been silent began to stir, visibly uncomfortable with the injustice playing out before them. Vanessa's face reddened, her pride visibly wounded. In a fit of impulsive anger, she grabbed a glass of water from a nearby table and flung it directly at Lena. The icy liquid splashed onto Lena's suit, soaking the fabric and dripping onto the wooden floor. A collective gasp swept through the restaurant. The sound of the waves outside became the only audible noise as the stunned diners processed what had just occurred. But Lena didn't flinch. She remained rooted in place, her composure intact. Slowly, she retrieved a handkerchief from her pocket and dabbed at her face, the small act exuding a quiet dignity that contrasted sharply with Vanessa's outburst. When she spoke, her voice was low, yet it carried the gravity of undeniable authority. "Your actions," Lena said, fixing Vanessa with a piercing stare, "don't just insult me. They tarnish the values that any business, especially one as celebrated as this, should stand for: respect, fairness, and decency." Her words landed heavily, and the room, which had been charged with tension moments before, began to shift. The murmurs of disapproval grew louder. A middle-aged woman leaned toward her husband and whispered, "Disgraceful. Who behaves like that toward a guest?" Nearby, a group of young patrons discreetly began recording the scene on their phones, their expressions a mix of shock and determination. Bethany, the hostess who had first greeted Lena with thinly veiled condescension, stood frozen in disbelief. She had admired Vanessa as a symbol of success, but witnessing this reckless display had shaken her faith. For the first time, she questioned the culture of judgment she had upheld for years. Lena adjusted her suit jacket, picked up her handbag, and addressed Vanessa one final time. "I will leave, not because I was wrong to be here, but because I refuse to lower myself to your level. Remember this. Today, you didn't just fail me, you failed your staff, your customers, and the very values you claim to represent." With measured steps, Lena walked toward the exit, her back straight and her head held high. The restaurant remained eerily silent for a few moments before a few diners began to clap. The applause started as a tentative gesture from one table, but quickly spread, growing into a quiet, collective acknowledgement of Lena's grace under fire. Vanessa stood rooted to the spot, the empty glass trembling in her hand. The realization dawned on her that this moment of impulsive pride might have far-reaching consequences, not just for her, but for the reputation of Azure Haven itself. Outside, the moonlit ocean sparkled serenely, its steady waves oblivious to the turmoil within the restaurant. As Lena walked along the beach, her thoughts swirled. She had faced countless moments of bias in her career, but this incident was different. It wasn't just about her. It was about the culture of exclusion that thrived even in spaces deemed progressive. Back inside, the diners remained abuzz with conversation whispers of, "Was that the Deputy President?" And, "I can't believe this happened," rippled across the room. Within minutes, social media began to flood with posts. Videos of the confrontation were uploaded, capturing every detail from Bethany's frosty greeting to Vanessa's humiliating outburst. One clip, captioned "Deputy President Lena Carter disrespected at Azure Haven," quickly went viral. Hashtags like "Respect for Lena" and "Fairness in Service" trended within hours. As millions weighed in on the shocking events, outraged users called for a boycott of Azure Haven, with comments like, "Unacceptable." This isn't just about Lena Carter, it's about basic human decency. A high-end restaurant acting like this, time for a reality check. She handled it with so much grace, true leadership in action. Public figures, activists, and even former patrons of Azure Haven joined the conversation. Some shared their own experiences of discrimination, turning Lena's ordeal into a broader movement, demanding fairness and respect in the service industry. In her private office, Lena monitored the growing storm. Though she hadn't sought to escalate the incident, she recognized the potential it held to spark meaningful change. Convening a team of advisors, Lena laid out her vision. "This isn't just about what happened to me," she said. "It's about what happens to people every day, people without the platform to speak out. We have an opportunity here to push for real reform, and we're going to seize it." Her plan was clear: gather evidence, encourage others to share their stories, and launch a national campaign promoting equity in customer service. "This isn't about retribution," Lena emphasized. "It's about setting a standard, a reminder that respect is not a privilege, it's a right." Bethany, once known for her detached professionalism, found herself in an uncomfortable position during the mandatory training sessions at Azure Haven. As part of the reform, she was asked to role-play a customer entering a simulated establishment where staff treated her with cold indifference and overt judgment. The experience struck a nerve. The sting of dismissal, the subtle looks, and the blatant denial of service weighed heavily on her. For the first time, she felt the emotional toll that came with such treatment. Overwhelmed, Bethany broke down in tears during the debriefing. "I never realized how much my actions could hurt someone," she admitted to the group. "What I thought were small, inconsequential judgments had a profound impact. I let my biases dictate how I treated people, and I was wrong." From that moment, Bethany transformed. No longer content to merely follow orders, she became a passionate advocate for change within Azure Haven. During staff meetings, she shared her experiences, reminding her colleagues of the importance of compassion and respect in every interaction. Her vulnerability and honesty inspired others, making her a driving force behind the restaurant's internal transformation. Meanwhile, Vanessa, once the embodiment of arrogance, began her own journey of redemption. The weight of public scrutiny and personal reflection had forced her to confront the flawed principles she had once upheld. At a seminar for business owners, she confessed, "I used to believe exclusivity defined luxury, but I've learned that true luxury lies in making everyone feel valued and respected." Vanessa didn't stop at reforming her restaurant. She became a speaker at industry conferences, using her mistakes as a case study in humility and growth. Her message was clear: genuine leadership is about listening, learning, and creating spaces where everyone feels welcome. The transformation of Azure Haven had ripple effects far beyond its walls. The restaurant's overhaul inspired other businesses to re-evaluate their own practices. Major hotels, restaurants, and service-oriented establishments pledged to implement cultural awareness training and develop policies to combat bias. This wave of change coalesced into the Service with Compassion movement, a nationwide initiative promoting fairness and respect in customer interactions. Governments, non-profits, and industry leaders partnered to ensure these values became the new standard in hospitality. Deputy President Lena Carter saw the incident as an opportunity to advocate for systemic change. During a public address, she spoke with conviction. "We can't undo decades of prejudice overnight, but every action, no matter how small, can contribute to a more just and compassionate society. Respect and dignity are not privileges, they are rights." Lena's speech marked the launch of Respect for All, a national initiative aimed at transforming service culture across industries. The program introduced mandatory training for businesses, focusing on 3 core areas: unconscious bias awareness, teaching employees to recognize and address their own biases; compassionate communication, equipping staff with tools to listen and respond to customer needs empathetically; practical simulations, role-playing exercises, where employees experience the impact of discriminatory behavior firsthand. The initiative also established a national complaint platform, allowing customers to report instances of mistreatment or discrimination. An independent body reviewed these cases to ensure fairness and accountability. To support small businesses, the government offered financial grants and free training programs, ensuring inclusivity was not just a corporate luxury, but a standard for all. The changes inspired by Lena's leadership extended beyond the United States. International media picked up the story of Azure Haven, sparking global conversations about respect and equity in customer service. In Europe, leading hospitality brands adopted inclusive service standards, while in Japan, companies re-evaluated hiring and training practices to eliminate biases against foreign customers. In South Africa, non-profits launched the Serve with Heart campaign, encouraging businesses to prioritize dignity and fairness. Back at Azure Haven, Vanessa poured her energy into rebuilding the restaurant's culture. Monthly training sessions on cultural awareness and unconscious bias became the foundation of their operations. New hires attended immersive courses to internalize the restaurant's revised philosophy. Every guest deserves respect, regardless of appearance or background. In a bid to reconnect with the community, Azure Haven launched A Table for Everyone, an initiative offering fine dining experiences to individuals and families who otherwise couldn't afford them. "I never thought I'd be welcomed in a place like this," one participant said during a community meal. "But tonight, I feel seen, not for my status, but for who I am." Vanessa also introduced transparency in handling complaints. A new feedback system ensured concerns were reviewed by an impartial committee, restoring trust among patrons. Bethany, now one of the restaurant's most respected employees, was promoted to head of service. She led staff training sessions, sharing her story to emphasize the importance of empathy in every interaction. "I'm living proof that people can change," she told her team. "But change starts with recognizing the harm we've done and committing to do better." Lena's advocacy didn't stop with Azure Haven. She championed reforms across sectors, including education, healthcare, and corporate environments. In schools, cultural awareness and mutual respect became core elements of curricula. Students participated in role-playing activities to understand the impact of discrimination. A teacher remarked, "Lena's story helps us teach students not just about fairness, but about practicing it in their daily lives." In healthcare, hospitals and clinics adopted training programs to reduce biases in patient care. A doctor reflected, "I always thought I treated everyone equally, but these programs revealed unconscious biases I wasn't aware of." In corporations, large companies pledged to create more inclusive workplaces, introducing workshops to address bias in recruitment and management. The movement gained traction worldwide, with nations re-evaluating how industries treated customers and employees. At an international conference on service and governance, Lena delivered a powerful keynote. "Respect is not a privilege granted to a few, it is a fundamental right for all. We must create a world where no one questions their worth because of another's judgment." Months after the events at Azure Haven, Lena was honored at a national ceremony for her contributions to societal progress. As she stood before the audience, the applause was deafening, but Lena's focus wasn't on the accolades, it was on the message. "This story isn't about me," she said. "It's about all of us, about how we choose to treat one another, about the small actions that lead to great change. Together, we have the power to build a society where respect and dignity are the foundation of every interaction." As the audience rose in a standing ovation, the values Lena championed continued to echo far beyond that moment. The story of Azure Haven and its transformation wasn't just a lesson in reform. It was a testament to the enduring power of resilience, empathy, and the collective will to create a better world. Bethany had come a long way from her initial indifference. During one of Azure Haven's intensive training sessions, she participated in an exercise designed to mirror the very biases she had once unknowingly perpetuated. Role-playing as a customer entering a judgmental environment, she experienced firsthand the sting of cold glances and exclusion. The helplessness and shame overwhelmed her, bringing her to tears. "I never realized how deeply my actions could hurt someone," she confessed during the debrief. "What seemed like small, unconscious judgments were monumental to those on the receiving end. I was wrong to let my biases cloud my professionalism." Bethany's transformation became one of Azure Haven's most inspiring stories. She not only changed her own perspective, but also became a leader in the restaurant's cultural reset. At staff meetings, she candidly shared her journey, emphasizing that empathy and respect were non-negotiable in providing exceptional service. Vanessa, once the epitome of arrogance, now stood as a beacon of change. At a gathering of business owners, she reflected, "I thought exclusivity was the hallmark of luxury, but I've learned that true luxury lies in how you make people feel, in creating spaces where everyone feels valued." Vanessa's transformation wasn't just personal. She became an advocate for reform across the service industry, sharing her mistakes as lessons in compassion. Azure Haven, under her leadership, evolved from a symbol of exclusion to a hub of inclusivity and warmth. Azure Haven didn't just rebuild its reputation, it became a force for good regular events, like connection dinners brought people from diverse backgrounds together to share meals and stories. These gatherings dismantled prejudices and fostered a deeper understanding of one another. The restaurant also established the Respect and Fairness Scholarship Fund, aimed at supporting students from underserved communities who aspired to work in hospitality beyond financial aid. The scholarship provided internships at Azure Haven, where students learned the importance of service rooted in compassion. Azure Haven partnered with non-profits to offer free inclusivity training for small businesses, spreading the message that fairness isn't just ethical, it's good business. "Inclusivity strengthens us," Vanessa often said. "It builds trust and community." Bethany, now head of staff training, developed a comprehensive program focused on fostering respect in every customer interaction. During each session, she shared her personal story to remind employees that acknowledging and addressing one's mistakes was the first step toward meaningful growth. Her story resonated beyond Azure Haven. She was frequently invited to speak at service industry workshops, inspiring others to embrace the transformative power of humility and self-awareness. Deputy President Lena Carter's experience at Azure Haven had become a rallying cry for systemic reform. Through her Respect for All initiative, Lena pushed for wide-reaching change. Her programs provided businesses with resources for training in unconscious bias, compassionate communication, and practical simulations designed to cultivate empathy. The government introduced a national fairness registry, allowing customers to report incidents of discrimination without fear of retaliation. Complaints were handled transparently by an independent review body, ensuring accountability. Internationally, Lena's advocacy sparked a movement. Businesses worldwide began adopting similar reforms, from European hotels revamping their inclusivity policies to Japanese companies addressing biases against foreign customers. In South Africa, non-profits launched Serve with Heart, encouraging fair treatment in customer service. Beyond the service industry, the ripple effects reached other sectors. Schools introduced lessons on cultural awareness and respect, giving students experiential learning opportunities like role-playing as marginalized individuals. Healthcare providers adopted training programs to reduce biases in patient care, and corporate giants pledged to foster diversity and inclusion in hiring and management practices. At an international conference on compassion-driven leadership, Lena delivered a powerful keynote. "Respect is not a favor," she said. "It's a fundamental right. A world where everyone feels seen and valued is not a utopian dream. It's an achievable reality." Azure Haven became a model for transformation. Monthly workshops reinforced the staff's commitment to its new ethos. Every guest deserves dignity. Community-focused initiatives like a table for everyone invited underserved families to enjoy fine dining experiences, fostering deeper connections and mutual understanding. One guest, attending a community dinner, remarked, "I never thought I'd be welcome in a place like this, but tonight, I feel more than welcome. I feel respected." The restaurant staff embraced its mission with renewed purpose. Bethany, reflecting on her own growth, said, "This isn't just a job anymore. It's a responsibility to show everyone who walks through these doors that they matter." Vanessa, too, dedicated herself to sharing the lessons she had learned. She became a sought-after speaker, her journey a wake-up call for others in the industry. "True elegance," she often said, "isn't about chandeliers or fine china, it's about how we treat one another." Months after the incident that sparked it all, Lena stood on stage at a national awards ceremony honoring individuals who had made a significant impact on society. The applause was deafening as she approached the podium. Yet Lena remained humble, focusing her speech not on herself, but on the collective journey that had unfolded. "Change doesn't happen overnight," she told the audience. It's built on small, consistent actions, on compassionate choices, and the courage to reflect and grow. This isn't just my story, it's our story. It's about how we choose to see one another and the world we want to create together. In the audience, Vanessa and Bethany sat quietly, tears welling in their eyes. Once adversaries, they had become symbols of the power of transformation. Vanessa thought of the restaurant she had rebuilt, now thriving on a foundation of respect and inclusion. Bethany reflected on her journey from complacency to advocacy, grateful for the opportunity to lead others toward a brighter path. The story of Azure Haven was no longer just about a restaurant or a single moment of confrontation. It had become a testament to the profound impact of humility, resilience, and the belief that anyone, regardless of their past, could be an agent of change. The restaurant now welcomed guests from all walks of life, its reputation not just for exquisite cuisine, but for the values it upheld. Visitors came not only for the food, but to witness firsthand the embodiment of a movement rooted in compassion. At the close of the ceremony, Lena looked out at the audience, her gaze filled with hope. "Every act of kindness," she said, "every moment of respect, it all matters. Change begins with us, and together, we can create a world where no one questions their worth." As the applause thundered once more, the message of Azure Haven and Lena Carter's leadership continued to ripple outward, a reminder that from mistakes can come growth, and from growth, a society that is truly just and inclusive.